Hello, my name is Maddie Boardman and I'm a solution-focused hypnotherapist at Old Town Hypnotherapy in Swindon. Today I'm going to be talking briefly about arachnophobia. Most of us are familiar with the term arachnophobia. It is, of course, a fear of spiders. And most of us are scared of something, but as it turns out, spiders is pretty common. About 50% of women report being scared of spiders and 18% of men. And of that group of people, about 5% of them are considered phobic, truly phobic of spiders. So why? Why are so many of us scared of these little spiders? And how do we know if our fear is in fact a phobia? On face value, it is a little bit baffling, really, as to why we're so scared of spiders. Most spiders, particularly here in the UK, are harmless. Most of them are fairly small. They generally just mind their own business. They're far more scared of us than we are of them. They catch flies, which is helpful. In fact, most spiders on the entire world fall into this category. And we don't have the same reaction to other small creatures or other insects, such as beetles or ladybirds. They do well. Or even the more annoying fly, we don't have the same reaction to. But the little incy-wincy spider can cause some very strong, even quite hysterical reactions. You may have heard a theory that we are born with two innate fears that are embedded in our subconscious mind, and they are reported as being the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. But as it turns out, the idea that there's only two fears is not exactly correct. There's a scientist from Germany, his name is Max Planck, and he led an experiment with the Institute of Human, Cognitive and Brain Sciences. He enlisted the help of a group of 6-month-old babies. And at 6 months old, they were deemed too young to have learnt behaviours from their parents, fears from their parents. He showed these babies images, different images of different things, to include pictures of spiders, pictures of snakes, pictures of flowers. And he measured their response to these images, their pupil dilation in particular. And our pupil dilation indicates levels of a chemical called noradrenaline, which is released during our fight or flight, our fear response. In the case of spiders, the average pupil dilation in the babies was 0.14 millimetres. The images of flowers only got a response of 0.03 millimetres. Mr. Planck concluded that the fear of spiders and snakes, actually, that got the same pupil response, are of evolutionary origin. In other words, embedded in our DNA. Scientists believe this is a throwback to our ancestors, to ancient humans, who evolved in Africa, where being able to spot and avoid a spider was far more important than it is for us today. There are currently about 5 types of spider in Africa that are classified as poisonous, but we also have things like antibiotics or antiseptic and other medical interventions to help deal with anyone who suffers a spider bite. But for ancient man, these little spiders would have been much more dangerous. It's believed that if enough deaths occurred over enough time because of spider bites, eventually it shows up in our genes. If something kills us over and over for generations and generations, evolution will eventually select for instincts or behaviours that motivate us to spot and to avoid the danger. Other studies have revealed that babies do not have the same response, that fear response, that noradrenaline response to pictures of lions or bears or other theoretically dangerous animals. And it's suggested that this is because these types of animals have not been around long enough to have altered our genes in the same way spiders and snakes have. It goes further, in fact, our vision has evolved. Our vision has evolved to spot the shape and the pattern of a spider or a snake, even before we're consciously aware that that's what it is. So our neurons activate a stress response before we have consciously identified the object as a spider. It's called the startle reaction, and it's a nearly universal human response that causes an involuntary sort of bending of our limbs and an avoidance moving, a sporadic kind of movement with our head to avoid the danger. Now, of course, environment also has an impact on a spider fear. Perhaps your mother and father has an extreme reaction when they see spiders, and you learnt this from them. Or perhaps there is a genetic predisposition to anxiety responses in your family. Or maybe you have had a particularly traumatic experience with a spider, or even just know someone who can do it. We all have this inbuilt fear of spiders, but the varying degrees we respond to them indicates that other factors are also at play. Being afraid of something is quite different though to being phobic of something. So how do we differentiate between them? How do we know if we are phobic? Well, to be diagnosed with a phobia, your symptoms have to have been present for at least 6 months and be causing distress and disruption to your daily life. So let's say your friends invite you to the woods or to the park for a picnic, but you decide not to go in case you bump into a spider. That's you using avoidance tactics, and these kind of avoidance tactics can be distressing to us, and they can cause disruption. If you spend significant amounts of time checking and rechecking, I had a client once who would, due to an arachnophobia, would strip her bed every single night and then remake it again before she got in, just to check there wasn't a spider in there. And if you're finding this checking and rechecking upsetting, it's probably time to get some help. Thankfully, most phobias are pretty easy to deal with in clinic. They often take as little as 3 sessions to fully recover from. We don't, you'll be probably pleased to hear, use methods like showing you pictures of spiders or forcing you to hold a hairy tarantula. But we do use the enormous power of your own imagination and your subconscious to create new, calmer responses. And during the initial consultation, we determine whether your phobia is categorised as a simple phobia, which means it's a standalone issue, or a complex phobia, which means the client would be presenting with other anxiety issues in other areas of their lives. Either way, we don't have to live with our extreme fear and our phobias. And although I can't promise you that at the end of treatment you'll love spiders, you'll certainly be much better at coping with cohabiting with them. So if you do have a spider phobia, or even a severe fear that you would like to address, free consultations available at Old Town Hypnotherapy, both online and in person. Thank you. Bye-bye.